Okay, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Picking and Putting. Our guest today, our co-host is Liberty Bill Edwards, who will just appear on the screen on YouTube in a second. And our guest professionals from the Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, North Carolina, are Joe Cochran and Luis Hernandez, also from the Canary Islands and speaks a lot of languages. But we're not going to get into that. I want to do a quick shout out, something I learned. It says, for all our listeners out there, tell 2 friends to listen to our show, send them the thing, some way to expand our listeners. I wanted to do a quick shout out. I've got 2, or actually I've got 3. One is to Sahith Thagalia. I hope I pronounced that right. God, the guy was wonderful. It was just like watching your own kids or you guys walking out there. He was just having a good time and it was fun to watch. And he held up under pressure and he kind of got 17th hole. He got a bad look. In fact, we'll talk about that. I'd like to see us do the 14th hole and the 17th hole similar. You probably won't have quite the same, but you could do something on 14 and maybe 8 would lend itself better with the amount of land. I want to put a call. Yeah, a shout out to the crowd at 16 at TPC Scottsdale. That was just there were guys criticizing it, and I'm going, you know what, guys, get over it. You don't criticize the NFL or anybody else. Why criticize golf? And then the other one was I wanted to cut, Colt Knost and Amanda Balionis, because I thought that was CBS might have stumbled on something that interjects a little more fun and comedy than just, okay, he's over this putt, whatever. So yeah, or Bryson with his yardage books. So let's see. Well, okay, right off the bat, let's get into it. So I wanted to talk to the fellows about 2022 and equipment and what you see coming around and what you're excited about, what you think is good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Shoot, go for it, guys. What do you think, Joe?
Well, there's a lot of new clubs coming out. It's, as far as here, we get rid of all of last year's clubs and all the new clubs come in and it's all like done in a few weeks. So we're really excited to get started testing some of this stuff. We've got all of the Callaway's got all the new stuff. TaylorMade's got new stuff. Ping is still carrying over. They may have a few new things, but they come out in the fall. And Titleist still has theirs as well. So yeah, the 2 newbies are Callaway and TaylorMade. And the driver is always a big hit. Especially we sell most Callaways and TaylorMade. You've got the Stealth. You've got the 60 sheets of carbon in the driver.
The composite. The composite face. That's what I wanted to. I guess it's lighter.
It's lighter. It's not titanium anymore. Just a really cool, feels good, sounds good, really cool concept. Great for marketing. Everybody wants to hit this thing. So we just got it and we've been testing it some. So some good stuff.
Well, I know last fall when you first got introduced to the South Korean shafts, the Autoflex. And you showed me those, and I saw another one today that somebody was pushing called the Fujikara Shamrock. I guess it's green. I don't know what the hell that is.
Oh yeah.
But what is it about this shaft out of Korea that makes it unique? What for the average guy sitting out there is a 15 handicap? What makes it cool?
So I'd say it's mainly for those under 85, maybe even kind of around 80 miles an hour or less. I think it's really, we found some above it, but mainly for those, because the idea is it has so much bend, it creates lag in the downswing, and then it straightens at the ball. So some of these, and they're different flexes for different club speeds, but it's tons of bend. We put it on video and show them how much it's bending. I mean, you can feel it, and then it straightens at the ball. And a lot of times, if somebody's hitting slices, this thing straightens it out. High towering draws, like
Really?
immediately. Yeah, is just incredible. And we make it a little bit longer. We make sure we don't cut it down any. So it's that like 47 inches, which is another reason for distance.
So it's an extra inch over the standard 46.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, the average is 45 3/4. So it's about an inch or a little bit more.
And when I was your age, it was 43.5.
Wow.
Yeah, but if you go back and look at some of these guys, if you look at Rory and stuff, he's always gripping down 1.5 inches on his shaft.
The average on tour is about 44
For control. Yeah, for control. So that's, well, I wonder, so can they make, this isn't for me personally, because you demonstrated it to me, but can they make it stiff? And if they do, where's it going to appear, on the senior tour?
Well, Trevino had one. I've seen somebody else too. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, no, you're starting to see.
I'm sure I'm sure you'll see it on the LPGA before you see it maybe on the regular tour, but I got to believe they'll find somebody that they'll pay some bucks to use it on the regular tour.
So it's hard for me to sell drivers nowadays unless you have a TrackMan going and you see a little bit of change from driver shafts or whatever. You might see 4 or 5 yards, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
With this shaft, we've sold several just going to the range and just seeing them hit theirs and then put it in their hand and say, hit this. And I mean, they can see how much farther it's carrying. It's crazy. Now it is $800.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So,
well, any standard club anymore, any standard driver is about $5. And then, depending on the time of year you buy them, I'd say $4 to $5, right? I mean, if I walk in and pick a Titleist off the shelf, it's $4.99. Most places. I don't mean you guys in particular. I mean, wherever you go across the country. That's a thing we'll talk about later. Eli Callaway's brilliance 40 years ago was that he convinced us it was okay to spend $300 on one club. And when I was your age, $300 would buy you a whole set, tour set. I mean, tour set, with a 1 iron if you wanted it. So, well, anything about the other, well, I know that, but what about the irons? Is there some changes in the irons or you show me what you want to show me? Go ahead.
So, I mean, you've also got the Callaway. Callaway's probably past few years since the 2017 Epic.
Right.
Epic. Callaway's been our best seller. And every year they go Epic Rogue. And now we're back into the Rogue. It's the Rogue ST. Speed tuned is what it's called. They've got a little cartridge here in the back, some weight back here, because they figured out the ball speeds. I mean, ever since they had this jailbreak technology where you have they started with the 2 bars
behind the face
to the bottom to make the energy go to the ball.
Right.
Now that it's not just bars, it's a frame. So now the frame and where the ball is hitting on the face makes the ball speed come out faster. I mean, they are really onto something. So the ball speeds are really hot. Best selling driver that we've had the past few years. And then this speed tune is for forgiveness. It's moving that center of gravity a little bit more back. So it's a good combination, right?
Getting people a higher launch angle, I guess.
It can. So center of gravity back can make it launch a little higher. Yeah, it'll spin a little bit more, which some people need.
Right. What about? Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, you got any more on drivers? You want me to move on to irons?
Yeah. What about single length irons?
Oh yeah. What do you think about?
No.
What do you think about that?
It's kind of a cool concept. We haven't sold a lot of them because it's just it's different. But when you got Bryson doing it.
Well, what I would think, it's kind of like the old when you asked way back when they asked Arnold Lee and Jack what they would do differently. They said they'd teach their kids to putt left hand low because your shoulders are level and all that stuff. So I wonder if it's not going to take a generation of you guys coaching young guys who say, I want to be Bryson and wear wear a Hogan cap or whatever. And they start out from the get-go with single length irons from the way they go, and they,
Right.
they have his swing. That to me would be, it's harder for me to have the concept that you're going to take you and change Luis into swinging, single length clubs, but I don't know.
Well, so what I do like is for some people having the longer irons, having them a little more control and making them more like a 7-iron length, like a 4, 5, 6,
Right.
7, the same length maybe. And then from there, you start to step down for control. Because I mean, hitting, I don't know if you ever tried it, but hitting a pitching wedge at 7-iron length, it's pretty difficult.
Well, that was his problem when DeChambeau first came out. He was hitting his wedges, 190 yards. He had no concept of it. In fact, I saw the other thing the other day. I wrote it down because somebody posted on Twitter, a famous teacher, I don't remember if it's out of Florida or whatever, but was saying the standard distances of somebody. It might have been DeChambeau, and his wedge was 195. Well, his wedge degree was 40. Now,
Right.
my wedge is 48. My standard pitching wedge, I think. So 40 means it's in my bag, it's an 8-iron. So I'm always leery of some of those numbers they throw out on TV to these people, because they go, oh my God, he's, of course, in Phoenix, they were hitting down a tarmac. So of course the ball's going another 100 yards. So that, that's crazy enough in itself.
I'll tell you a cool concept about the number of a club. You know how every 7-iron is not the same. They're all different, including the loft, the cavity, center of gravity, and so on. So Webb Simpson came out with a really cool way of how he wanted to get fit for new irons, for new clubs. He reversed the process. He said, I want a club that carries 182. I don't care what number you want to put in that club, but make it to carry 182 yards. So if you see his back, I think he does not have a 6-iron. He has a 5.5.
Okay.
Which is the
It's
club
logical.
that carries 182. And then from there, he will base his gapping, usually 10 to 15 yards. So that's a cool way of reversing the gapping process. They usually start from wedges and then they go up to fairway woods.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, my 7-iron goes 112, 140, 139. Dead right, dead life, Daddy, no. But
More lessons.
yeah, well, yeah, more lessons. Yeah, Bill needs to get out and use his lessons. But so technologically, the irons, you've told me before that a lot of it has to do with shafts, right? I mean, iron for whoever it is, whatever, the average golfer for sure, in terms of flexibility. I think that's a mistake that somebody like me, as I get older, or younger guys, try to stick with stiff shafts when they're over 50, and they probably should move back. Even, I mean, I'm talking about a single-digit handicap guy that's, I'm still, and he, and he ought to back down a little bit, and his game would probably be better. I don't know what you guys think, but what about balls? Anything new on the ball front, dimple changes or anything that way that you guys know about? They advertise Callaway so much, and we all know about Titleist all the time because that's what we all seem to buy. What do you guys think?
If I were you, I'd keep buying the Titleist because they put so money and time and effort and quality checking that your golf balls are going to come out consistent.
Yeah.
It's just incredible what they do, and they still have the market, and that's what we're going to sell because we think it's the best. I mean, if you play a ball for a while, you kind of go between each brand. I think you can notice that as well.
Fun fact about Titleist, guess what percentage of their profit is correlated to selling balls? You want to guess what number?
I want to say it's very low.
Selling balls in Tyler's,
Yeah, is it? I don't know. Their profit on balls,
60%.
60% of all their
And they
sales.
sell apparel, they sell clubs, they sell,
So 60% of balls. Okay. And yeah.
60% comes from balls. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is-
I guess
so-
I guess I was thinking about the margins that you guys would make selling balls in a pro shop.
Yeah,
No.
not-
It's
Not
zero.
60%.
No, no.
No,
It's,
no, they-
nice.
it's
you
like
could-
it's like virtually nothing. It just gets you and I in the shop. Isn't that right?
yeah,
Basically.
more or
Yeah.
less.
The one thing that a lot of people don't know, the Pro V1X, and then you can compare it to all the other brands, but the Pro V1X is high launch, high spin. It's their highest spinning ball they've made. I mean, spin, we're coming out of, with the irons that they're making now, the lower lofts, the higher launch, and coming out like knuckleballs.
Right.
Most people need the Pro V1X, and that's why our range balls are the X. Of course, you got Johnson and Webb to come in here and say, "Where's our Pro V1? I want it back."
Oh,
But,
yeah.
But the X is what the majority of people need to play. And the Pro V1 is lower launching, and it's mid launch, mid spin, softer around the greens, but still less spinning.
So
and then
you're
you
not you're not recommending I go out and buy pink balls from Bubba.
got-
He only stuck with those for 1 year, and I'm not going to say
Only
the
if-
name.
Only if you buy
Yeah.
the pink shaft to match.
Now, see, That's why I said, of course, he plays ping. But that's the person I was thinking about would have that shaft. Yeah. There'll be somebody that'll take pink and, make it about a healthcare benefit or something. Well, the other one I see, Nick Faldo is always advertising. Now, you guys all give me your opinion about this. So he's advertising these square shoes. Now, I don't have any, but he claims, and there's probably a lot of, and I guess the idea is that they feel they're real well fit, but that your base is stable. I'm gathering. They got guys on there. Oh yeah, I picked up 6 yards with square shoes. I'm going, really? I want to know how that works, because Sam Snead played his bare feet and played great. So, have you heard anything about those or no?
So shoes have been a kind of a big up and coming thing, because all the teaching is ground force stuff. So, how do you use the ground? And so the way people are using the ground, they go in their backswing, like it should be, I kind of agree.
Okay.
You could get some out of it according to custom shoes. I don't know about the square shoes, but each person should have a certain way that their shoes should be made in order to maximize how they're using the ground. Now, that being said, you can probably hurt some people, because you start putting the shoe like like the right foot, putting it higher on the right side, and they start, you can start messing up hips and
knees.
so you got to be careful messing with shoes. But it's, I think they're onto something.
Well, you've heard, I've probably said that on a previous podcast you never heard, but that was John Wooden's famous story when they appeared in camp at UCLA. They said, "What did you teach him first thing?" He said, "I pulled up a chair, sat down, and I taught him how to put on their socks and shoes." And he says, "What the hell do you mean?" He says, "Because they get blisters." And the deal is I show them how to put on their socks without wrinkles, and then I have them put their shoes on, and I find out their size, and I say, "Touch the front of your shoes. Can you feel your toes?" And you'll all say, "No, I got a ½ inch there like mom taught me." He says, "That's wrong.
Yeah.
I want your shoes to fit exactly right. And when they're worn out, we'll give you a new pair. You're at UCLA. We don't do that mom stuff here," which I thought was so they had to fit. A great story. Great, and then that was the end of his first practice. Then he let him go. Well, anyways, I wanted to get about the shoes, and I wondered about the clothing, what I had heard about clothing. And this is, we don't have Blimey here to tell us about it, and that's another story, but, and I say that in all love if he listens to this, but where they're coming out with other pieces of clothing that are water resistant. So like the clothing you two are wearing right there, rather than have a rain suit, you can have a pullover or whatever that's water resistant, but is light and breathable. Have you heard, is there anything like that that you know about, FootJoy or anybody, or no?
Well,
Nope.
in clothing, I'll tell you, a lot of people ask me, what do I wear when I'm playing golf in the very cold weather conditions?
Right.
I am not a fan of heavy, puffy jackets, vest that will restrict my turn or my speed, right?
Right.
I'm a huge fan of Under Armour stuff, meaning high necks, long sleeve, whatever you use to skiing under your golf shirt, under your regular pullover. And that's usually all you need is the first layer really tight, really close to your skin. I think that's way more helpful than wearing these puffy jackets that look like the Michelin.
Yeah, the tire guy.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right on with that. I learned a couple years ago, when you go to the beach down here in the Carolinas, they make these shirts. It's out of, well, not this one, but they make these shirts out of that cloth.
Yeah.
You can swim on it and get out of the water.
Dry
and it
fit.
dries. Well, Dry Tech. The inside has a lining so that most of the shirts I have now that are 60 to 75 blocks. So you don't have, if you wear the shirt and go out and lay in the ocean or go walking, you don't have to put on any sunscreen as long as it's got long sleeves on it. So the technology is really cool that way. So.
And then you have some people that only wear shorts regardless of the weather conditions. Do you all know who that is?
No, I never heard. Yeah, the story about that is if you come in January and see some idiot on the practice tee in shorts, there's only one person it can be, and I don't know who that is. But I have read about him. So yeah, I was given the nickname Shorts by somebody. I forget. Anyways, well, Bill, you got any questions for the guys?
Well, I covered single length iron. That's what I was most curious about, but I haven't heard you guys talk about putters.
Putters, yeah.
Yeah, what about putters? There's a great one. That's a great question, because when I watch now, it used to be everybody would pick on the guys if they went left hand low, went claw, went this, went that. In fact, my own son would complain to me. He said, "You just use 6 putting grips in one round. What the hell's that all about?" But
And that happens all the time.
oh, I know. There was somebody, it wasn't Scheffler, but somebody this weekend it was Sahith. He uses 3 or 4 putting grips during the course of a round. The kid's 24 years old, but he does, I'm fading in and out here. But anyways, he, that putter that Bryson's using is a longer putter, and then they can anchor on their arm. Yeah, what do you guys think about all the putters and is the technology all about the faces, the length? What's the hottest thing there? The length, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so fitting for putters, we have Quintic here and we have TrackMan, both do putt. And it's really neat. It's not like you come in and you pick up a putter, you swing it, oh, that feels good, I'll buy it. You might, there's, according to everybody's stroke, their natural stroke, there are going to be some putters, and you start talking to them about their game and what putts they're good at and which ones they struggle with. And according to their stroke, and you kind of figure out their tendencies, you know which direction to move in. But we typically would lean towards more of a mallet. This is Titleist, a bigger head, where the center of gravity is more back.
Right.
That's going to help. It has less twisting. If you're hitting toe heel a little less twisting on the face, so the ball is going to come out about the same speed, right? That's the idea. So if you struggle with speed, your distance putts, then try a mallet. Some other things for a mallet are the alignment. So typically the bigger the head, the longer the lines. You start to have these lines that go back. You have 2 lines, 1 line. You got all this stuff, but typically that's going to help somebody to aim more to the left. So if they struggle with left or right putts, you just put a bigger putter or more lines on it. They start aiming more left. That could help to get it to start more left on like a left or right putt. Vice versa. This is kind of interesting. So then you've got a smaller, conventional style
Good.
blade putter, and the center of gravity is more forward, right? It's closer to the face, and so it twists more from toe to heel. So the ball speed is not as good, but they call it the kick point. So the distance from the shaft to the center of gravity, which is not very much on a blade putter because it's so far forward on the face, the ball does not kick offline as much as a mallet putter. Because because from the heel, from the shaft to the center of gravity way back here, that's a longer line. It creates more of a kick angle. So the ball actually shoots out more right and left on a mallet than with a blade.
God, I remember I did this once with him, Bill, where Joe showed me, I forget what the numbers were. The average speed of a pro was 3 miles an hour. I mean, there was all this technology more than any, most people go and grab it. Oh yeah, I like that putter. It looks cool. and there really is some really cool technology, like he just told you, and you can see it. That's what makes it
when he
fun.
just explained that, I even think of my own terrible golf game, but the difference between the mallet and the blade, absolutely. When I use a blade putter, I have more control from accuracy standpoint, whereas the mallet, I feel like I can control my speed better. So that really rang true for me. Now I just got to figure out
Which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got other things like the weight of the putter, right? If you tend to struggle with short putts, we'll go with a heavier putter. Need help with your longer putts, your speed putts, we'll go to something lighter. You've got the length of the club is very important. If you get something that's too long and they start bending their arms too much and their wrists to try to maintain it, it needs to be the right length. So their arms and the way they bend over matches what their natural stroke is. So, and the lie angle, just like in irons, the way it sits like this is very important when you're fitting clubs. And we've got a putter machine where we can, adjust the club, the lie angle or the loft. If somebody tends to hit up on it a lot and it's launching high, we change the loft or the lie angle, and then we put it back and say, okay, let's see how it's launching now. Let's see if it's hitting that window that we need.
What is 4 degrees a standard loft?
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah.
3.5.
But everybody's different in the way that their natural stroke is. So typically you're wanting to hit up on the ball with a putter. So if somebody's hitting down, you can add more loft and it comes out what you need.
Well, for you folks out there listening to us, you watch on YouTube, you can see all the description of what Joe was showing us. But I would tell you point blank, if you poo-poo fitting in this day and age and all that stuff, if for no other reason, do it with your putter. You'll have fun doing it. In your town, there'll be some pro, virtually every golf course will have that ability, and you should go do it because I think it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on. So
I got one last question here. One last question. What's the most important club to have customized? If you were going to say, okay, driver, putter, your set of irons, what's the most important to have fit for you, for just the amateur golfer out there?
That's a great question. I mean, I guess I would say, I guess it depends on the golfer, but I would say the driver. I mean, if you have a driver that's not the right, mainly a loft. I mean, the people if they're off by 2 or 3 degrees of loft, I mean, they're killing themselves with distance. So that's a biggie.
Okay, that's helpful.
What do you think, Luis?
Well, I will say I agree with Joe in the driver. However, in your irons, having the proper equipment hopefully will get you to hit it closer. And anytime you hit it closer, your strokes go down. You don't even have to be a good putter, or you don't have to be a good chipper. So irons will be second close.
Well, I know we've gone off in detail, but what about when you're talking about irons then? Like we said, you take the guy between 15 and 20 handicap. What about the difference between the Matt Kuchar shaft that's a composite versus all steel versus graphite, depending, in terms of lightness, heaviness? Now, I grant you, if you're you guys and you have a swing speed of 120 miles an hour, or whatever, 110, it's different. But what do you think about the shafts? I mean, it's hard to know because there's no driver without a graphite shaft.
So typically you go into graphite with slower swing speeds to try to get it to kick up, swing a little faster. Also, somebody that has joint issues, elbows, wrist, you go into that can help the vibration. So you can go graphite for that versus steel, but they make steel now so light. It used to be all at least 120 grams, and now you got them down to 80 grams in a steel shaft. And another reason you go into graphite is if somebody or lighter, if somebody has a kind of a slower transition or a smooth transition, I should say, rather than somebody who's pulling that thing down and really fast, that you would need something heavier or stiffer steel if they've got that really fast transition. So you can kind of change it. Somebody that's swinging faster may not necessarily need steel or heavy, just because of the way they deliver it.
Okay. Hey, Bill, you got any more questions, or you got a shout out? I skipped you on the shout out because you weren't here early.
Oh yeah, Chloe Kim, snowboarding, gold medal, 21 years old. She had won the gold in 2018 when she was 17, and she dealt with a lot of mental health struggles, targeted racism as a female Asian American out here. She was very open about it, helped inspire people, went back, kicked ass again. I anticipate she'll win a couple more of those gold medals before she's done. The Olympics don't have a lot of good stories. They'll probably be primarily remembered for a 15-year-old Russian, yet another cheater coming out of Russia. So to have a good story in Chloe Kim, an American, and bring home the gold in snowboarding, a sport I actually understand compared to a lot of the other Olympic sports like curling, which I'm trying to understand. Shout out to Chloe Kim.
Yeah, I don't know I can't comment on any Russian golfers, so I don't know that. Okay, so I got a couple things here for you guys as we close it out here. This is kind of fun. So Eli Callaway, I figured we'd use him as my quote to sign off. And he came along. First, he worked in textiles. He was the president of Burlington Industries. I did not know this, in South Carolina. Then he moved to California and became a vintner and a wine guy. And then he came by and met these guys who were struggling with this golf club stuff. And they were trying to make old clubs that looked cool and all this. And that's when he started Callaway. I think it was 82. He bought these guys. But a couple interesting facts. He's the distant nephew of Bobby Jones. That's one thing. Did you know that? I did not know that. Number two, did you know where the name Big Bertha came from? Bet you didn't. It's named after a World War I German cannon that could shoot the cannonball farther than anything. It could shoot at 76 miles.
Wow.
There you go.
This was in 1918. So he decided, well, we'll call it Big Bertha because these clubs are going to go far. And my quote was, they said he was the ultimate salesman, and his thing was he would walk up to anybody, any famous person. He said, "Hello, I'm Eli Callaway. Do you play golf?" And if they said yes, I got a club I can sell you. So anyways, I thought it was fun to know he was a distant relative of Bobby Jones and the Big Bertha. So now you can tell, guys, where did the name Big Bertha come from?
Yeah.
There you go.
A German cannon. That's especially relevant in today's world, I guess. I don't know. Anybody got anything else you want to say? You guys want to say anybody? say any hellos to anybody or anything?
Do this all night, talk about clubs and golf, man.
Yeah, well, we really enjoyed it. To all you folks out there, these Joe Cochran and Luis Hernandez, if you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, stop by, home of this year's 2022 President's Cup. So there'll be a lot going on at the Quail Hollow Club in North Carolina. If you haven't passed on to any of your friends, if you got 2 friends, pass on to watch the show or listen to the show. We're on YouTube and all the other platforms. We appreciate your tuning in. Thanks for stopping by today, and go home and have a drink, you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Joe Luis.
See you, Bill.
You do see my name there, don't you?
Bomber.
Bomber Zollinger. See you guys.
Take care.
Take care.